Hey everyone, this is the second ever mentoring session that I've done live on Twitch. The first was Monday with Beardage. This one is with 3DExtended. They're both senior engineers, but they have very different wants out of their careers. So you'll see in this video that we talk about what 3DExtended is looking for. I hope you enjoy this series. I am just going to leave the unedited video after this and we'll see how this carries on. So thanks for watching. So you saw the session on Monday with Beardage, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
So you kind of know how this works, and I saw that you added some things in here. What I did wrong with Beardage is I did not let him talk about the stuff that he had typed in. So I'd love to get your take on what you want to work on, hear the words from you, and I'll add my own notes alongside what you've written here.
Yeah, sure. So maybe quick introduction of my person. My name is Peter. The chat knows me as 3DExtended. I'm a professional software engineer. I work as a senior software, worked as a senior software engineer at several companies in Germany. And nowadays, I'm not the tech guy anymore. I'm the product owner of a major interface we are writing for an internal product for several thousands of customers. So a big project I'm the product owner of. And as I migrated into the product owner and let's say a team lead, I kind of realized I have still some coding to do. I don't want to leave coding behind, but my career is laid out for me to go into leadership. That's one topic I've brought here today.
Could I interject briefly? Because I realize
Yeah.
I already have some questions. So
Okay.
just some basic background stuff. You said you migrated into being a product owner and a team lead. When was that
Yes.
migration?
So actually, it started about 1.5 years ago. For a short duration, I was both product owner and software developer. This shifted into more product owner. And as I started my at the last company, I work as a full-time product owner now, which was about 1 year ago. 1 year ago.
You're saying at the wait, I'm a little confused about this. You said about a year and a half ago, and for a short duration, you were functioning as both, and then you became
Yeah.
just a product owner as of about a year ago, you're saying?
With the migration into a new company. So I switched companies about a year ago, and at this company, I now work as a product owner and product manager.
Okay, I see. Got you. And then the other thing I want to ask about is you said you don't want to leave coding behind. You also mentioned a side hustle. Are you
Yeah.
okay with leaving coding behind for the professional world and saving
Yes.
coding for your? Okay,
Um, so my long-term goal is becoming CTO. That's why I don't want to leave tech behind. But I know of myself that I have missing leadership qualities, which I think are a requirement for a CTO, and hence my short path through leadership, which I guess should take about 3 to 5 years or something like this. And after that, I want to migrate into CTO.
okay. Yeah, I think this is definitely some stuff I can kind of help talk about. I only had those two interrupty questions, and now you get back to your intro. Sorry to
No
interrupt.
worries. Yeah, so I have some products I work on the side. So after my 9 to 5, I work as on side hustles. I have two apps I'm currently working on. One is actually in the App Store, so in the iOS App Store. I guess it's only in Germany visible, so that's a bummer. But the other one isn't released yet, so I plan on releasing this end of March when everything goes according to plan.
Okay. And you said previously game development. Is that something you'd like to continue? Are the apps related at all to game development?
No, actually not. it was my intro into programming. So I started programming with 14 years old. First, have done some websites, and after that, I discovered Unity for the first time and did quite some game development, but actually never finished any projects.
Okay.
The project finishing part is something new for me. So the first app I released was about 13 months of work, and this is the first product I launched. But as I thought I wrote it somewhere, I have no users in the app, so I believe the process of developing this app wasn't optimal, and I'm looking to improve this process, and might want your take on this. And want to dive deep with you about this topic because I worry that my second app has the same issues. I
Okay.
want to discuss how to market, how to gain users, how to gain honest user feedback. Uh, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. There were a couple of quick questions. Oh yeah, one, can you see this document as I'm typing into it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. That's important.
But I'm not reading it.
Oh, you're not. That's fine. It's mostly a transcript of what you're saying, and that way I can look back and see if I missed any context. So,
Mhm.
this is good. This is a good overview of what you've talked about so far. And then the third thing you have written down is gym, how to find the why to go running.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that.
I'm actually struggling the second year in a row to get back into doing sports. I was a very active person back in the day, so I did some martial arts for about 21 years. Lost interest in that, and after this, I didn't go back into sports. And I have issues finding my why, finding the joy in doing any kinds of sports. I did try some things. So yeah,
Okay.
that's my take on it. How to find what I want to do and how to get back into the groove of things.
Okay. Yeah. So sounds good. I think this is all something we can talk about, kind of focus on as we go through a lot of this. I'm
Mhm.
going to tackle this in order because if I were to rate priorities, which I shouldn't be doing for your life, they'd probably be in roughly this order, given what you said about your long-term goal of becoming CTO. So that's a pretty big thing. That's something you definitely want to start with. Leadership is a way to do that. Side hustles in the gym we can get to in either this session, maybe a little bit, or in later sessions. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the product. You've been in this company for about a year.
Yes.
Okay. This company for about a year. What's the general size of it? The company, you said it's an internal product that you're using, and you mentioned, I think, thousands of customers. Given that it's internal, that means that that's a pretty large company, right?
No, it's an internal interface for this product, which is distributed at our customers. I, I have some NDAs. I can talk about this, some security-related stuff. But yeah, we have thousands of customers, and we are writing or the product I'm the product owner of. It's an interface where some new clients which have to be developed then should dock into this product and enhance the user experience.
Okay, I see. So, um, how big is the company itself?
So I am in the corporate world. There is an international head organization, the the uh, the telecom company, but there are several layers down in the company chain. So my company has about 250 employees, about there. But we have the processes determined by the telecom.
Got it. Uh, Determined by parent company. So 250 employees in your company, for you to be CTO, let's say 6 years from now, would be you being the CTO of these 250 or working your way up through the parent company?
In my goal, it's for this 250 employees, but I'm not fixed on that. So if some opportunity arose to migrate into another company, whether it's telecom or not, I'm not fixed on. But my goal is becoming CTO.
Okay. And if you could expand the desire behind that goal. So you talked about sports and getting into the why of it. There's something driving you toward being wanting to be a CTO, whether or not at this current company. And it's interesting that it's not specifically at your current company. So what is behind that for you?
So it actually starts back in my first company I went to. It was a smaller company with about 50 or 70 employees, which had no technical leadership. There were all kinds of technology use in this company, and this made it really hard to manage people, switch teams between products, because the technologies were so broad and so different. And I like the technology side. I am really affine to technologies, if it is frameworks, architectures, and so on. And I want to enhance this business side of things. So I think of the CTO being the technical director, which lead the technology decisions of the company, the broader kind. So I'm really keen on doing this, and going now to my nowadays company. I noticed that there were a lot of issues regarding this technology leadership as well, and I guess that's my drive. Seeing that how bad it can be, what arose from this, and wanting to do it better.
I think there are a few things that go into CTO specifically, and I don't think we need to talk about CTO given how long term it is, but I think some of
Mhm.
the qualities of CTO, like you mentioned, leadership. But I guess somewhat quickly, how much business background do you have? I know you said you're a product owner, so I know that's intertwined with business. Do you have a formal education in business? Have you considered doing a degree or some kind of anyway, yeah. What's
So
your experience?
my master's degree is in software development, but I had a program that was integrated in this master in my formal education, with which was focused on business side of things. So I don't think a formal education in this sense would help me to go more into this direction. But the next steps will. I talked about I'm actually on the path to becoming a leader. So I have some formal requirements I have to meet by end of March, I think, of next year. And after that, I'm the team leader of a team of about 25 to 30 employees, with the business side of things. So my role would be to lead business decisions, to help make them, and I guess my expectation would be that I would gain all the education I need to becoming a CTO doing this path.
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't necessarily mean that you should pursue more education for this. I think you can learn on the job. It was more so to get an idea of what have you done and
Mhm.
how has it impacted what you've done so far. So, being a product owner and having done that program in your master's degree, did you find that that knowledge was relevant? Did you do case studies then? Did you have something that translated into the professional world, or was it mostly kind of thrown by the wayside?
So I guess my formal education was thrown away. So it was nothing I took into. I can't say nothing. So I had some product management courses in uni, which I used while doing my product owner, or product management. Um, but everything I do now is based on experience and not based on my formal education.
Yeah. And do you still find yourself growing by your own definition of the word growing?
Um, Kind of hard to answer. I guess yes. That's why I took the risk of becoming a leader. So I wanted to actively go into the next step. actively go into leadership because I see it as an opportunity to grow more and grow more quickly, as instead of staying at my product management role and trying to become CTO on the direct path.
Yeah, I see. I think that I need to understand a few more things before I can kind of get into the meat of
Yeah.
some of this stuff. So March is when you need to meet some of these formal requirements. By the way,
Yes.
there's no barrier to meeting these requirements, right? It's just something you know you can do and have to do. I don't know what the requirements are.
There is an process determined by the telecom, which is basically an assessment center, which I have to take part of, and I have to meet their standards before I can attend this leadership role I'm currently eyeing on.
I see. But is there any hesitation, like for example, let's say there were a test and you need to score a perfect grade on that. Is there
Mhm.
something like that where you're concerned that, oh, I might not be able to do this?
Um, No, I guess it's more learning I have to do, but there's nothing preventing me from learning this.
I see.
I have a clear path to how to succeed in this assessment center.
Okay. The reason I ask is that we can essentially say that in roughly March, you will be the team leader and that that's not really much of a concern. And that if something
Yes,
does go wrong, okay, so let's talk about the what if. If something does go wrong there, what is the next opportunity for you to re-pursue this path?
I would. So you are blocked from taking this assessment center for basically a year, which would prevent me from doing the same exact path. But I have talked to my current manager to basically have a plan B where I go through the architecture side of things. So becoming a lead architect for the current product and going through the technical side in hoping that I gain more technical experience and learning the leadership part on the side,
Yeah. I
so
see.
to
I think
say.
that's good too, especially wanting to be the CTO. I think architecting software is probably roughly the level you'd be at. You'd be setting tech decisions for the company. You'd be
Yeah.
doing very sort of large software engineering jobs and not so much the, okay, how do we code this or anything. So
Yeah.
I think that's good. Let me ask you this too. Your plan A is to go into this leadership program. Your plan B is to become an architect. The technical side of things, how would you get that as much in the plan A, in the leadership side?
That's where those side hustle projects come in.
Yeah.
So I'm not focused on making money in those side hustles, but I'm using those side hustles to gain experience, to learn new stuff. And when it means I can do a complete product, I will do this. But my focus would be to use this side hustle thing.
Okay. And how well do those side hustles translate to your professional life? So I know you mentioned an app, but are are they related to the telecom industry? Are they just is it the same technologies you use at work?
So I have two apps, and we have to split the answer into these two parts. My first app was totally overbuilt, totally over engineered with cloud infrastructure for a small app which doesn't need it, really doesn't need it.
Yeah.
So this first does really well translate into what I'm doing professionally. But the second one doesn't. I wanted to have some positive experience doing some side hustles, some side projects. That's why I really scoped down. I mentioned the first app was about 13 months of work. The second one was about a month worth. So I scoped it down only to see some to prove to myself that I can do it, basically.
Yeah. I
Um,
see.
yeah.
This touches on something that I find interesting here, which is you mentioned that you wanted to essentially enjoy your side hustle again, which
Yeah.
implies that the experience that was more valuable for you as a professional is the work that was over engineering that was not allowing you to enjoy it as much, which could be a problem because this is essentially, again, pulling back to the gym thing that you mentioned here. You want to get back to the why of doing this. I don't know how you had trained for martial arts for your 21 years, but somewhere along the way you lost that motivation and now you want to regain it. It could be a difficult thing if you were to lose your motivation with these side hustles on doing the technical things that you would need to grow. So that's something I think we should be mindful of as we proceed here because it's not a bad thing. It just might change your
Mhm.
goals and you could probably still find something that works for you within that realm. But it's something I'd want to watch out for you.
Yeah, I see it quite a little different. The second app was started at a time where my company evaluated new front-end technologies. So
Mhm.
Flutter, the technology I wasn't firm in, I decided on that to make some experience to maybe influence the company making a better choice. Um, After a few, yeah, the choice wasn't influenced, but that made the app possible for me, and that's why I'm really happy that I scoped it down. So it's a small project I can finish in time, so I can look for the next opportunity to grow back into technology skills.
Okay. Okay. You're talking about the second app, the 1 month app, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The second app. Yeah. So I think I need to understand a little bit about the corporate structure in the 250 employee company. How
Mhm.
many hops are you away? Like what is the structure? You are here and then there's your manager and then some number of steps and then the essentially the CEO of that company.
So I have basically one manager in between the manager and the CEO.
Okay. So you're
And
three.
I will, so my leadership step would be becoming my manager. So stepping one higher, one letter higher. So I have one manager in between me and my CEO.
I see. And that gives you access to these 25 to 30 people. Again, sort of like what I
Yeah.
was asking Beardage the other day. Would you be managing these people or just doing product management?
No, I'm the manager for the people. So I'm a people manager in this case.
And 25 to 30 of them.
Yes.
Okay. Is that typical at your company that there are layers of management that have that many reports?
So yeah, we have. So after this CEO, we have three managers, basically coordinating the managers which are behind them. So yes, that's typical, but our company is doing a major restructure. So it's quite new for the whole company, which made me the possibility to go into this leadership position.
Okay. And that restructure, what is bringing that on? Is that external changes from the telecom parent, or is that just the company itself deciding to restructure?
Latter one.
Okay.
So there were some good reasons why we should migrate some teams, split some teams, and this was condensed into one big restructure, which we were doing starting this December.
Okay. Okay. So now let's move into what does leadership mean to you? What do you think it takes to be a good leader?
Good question. What I admire at good leaders is that they provide the possibility to grow more. I had some leaders which did not take into consideration that I wanted to grow, which made me really frustrated, which will, I guess, make me aware that I have to grow my employees. Uh, Both in technology skills and yeah, personal growth, basically. That's the most the gist of it for me. Leaders should follow this servant leadership the methodology.
Hmm.
So serve their employees so that their employees can do the best that they can.
I see. And given the number of direct reports you would have, which in my experience is quite a lot, 25 to 30 people, that's a lot of people to sort of remember their individual quirks and personalities, their wants, their career goals. Are you going to be doing any product or tech side of things as well? And to what level are you expected to do that?
So the current expectation of my new manager, so the one after the CEO, is that I should do 50-50 split, doing the product owner and doing the leadership. But this is flexible. So that's what they want to start with. And if they see that leading the team I gain takes too much effort, I will be stepping down the product management and becoming a full-time leader. But that's not the first step they want to try out.
Yeah, if that proves to be difficult. Yeah, this is something that is okay. So I have my own set of kind of, red flags in my own head. And so I want to voice these to you, but if they're not concerns for you, you should definitely let me know. And so the thing I hear is 25 to 30 reports and then more responsibilities on top of that. And also, we were talking about this the other day, but Germany is good about vacation time. So you're doing all this in, what, like, let's say 45 weeks of the
Yeah,
year, something like that, right? I don't,
basically, yeah.
the exact number doesn't matter. But um, to me, the red flag here is how do you get all of this done and how do you grow people in the way you'd want to grow them, especially with a servant leadership philosophy, and then still maintain your responsibilities on top of that. And so you did mention there's flexibility here. Would you be the person asserting that I need to spend more time on the reports, or is this something you think would come from the manager, given that they said they don't want to start with less than a 50-50 split?
So basically, our company comes from a position where there was no actual leadership of employees. So they have no reference to compare this to. So this is the first step they want to try out. And hence, I would be the one asserting that I have to gain more percentages in leadership and basically stepping down from product management.
I see. And are you comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my new manager, I know him, and he was actually the one that recruited me, and we are on basically really good terms. And I basically could say, hey, we have to talk, we have to reorganize the percentages.
I see. And you would be becoming your manager though. So at that point, this manager who recruited you would be a peer.
No, I'm talking about the higher management.
Okay, got you.
Management.
I use the term skip level only to indicate that it's
Okay.
like, but that's not a term everybody uses necessarily. So, okay.
Yeah.
So who do you call, just out of curiosity of your terminology, who do you call the person directly above you right now?
Basically, I'm free floating at the moment.
Ah,
So with this restructuring, yes, I have on paper I have a new manager. I have never worked under him, and basically I'm now waiting to become a peer to my on paper manager and becoming the yeah
I see.
a leader as
Yeah,
well.
I understand. Okay, so then you have a very good relationship with your currently 2 hops away from you manager,
Yes.
which is good because he will be your manager in March should everything go to plan. Okay.
Yes.
Um, so I think you have a good structure for this. Again, this is kind of what I was talking to Beardage about. You get signals from the company and you get signals from yourself. And sometimes the signals from yourself are harder to interpret. In this case, the company is saying, we want you to do these things. The parent company has a formal process for how to do them. You're going about that process. You know that you have to learn these things. Have you prioritized this? Do you have a plan for the next 3 months of how you're going to
Yes.
achieve? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have mentors, especially for this formal process, and yeah. So basically, this is laid out, and I have the free time to prioritize this over the current work I do.
Got it. Yeah, that's good. So you have this set up, and then once you're in this new role, now all of a sudden it's going to be everything is flipped on its head. The things you got used to about product management,
Yeah.
maybe you don't have time to do, maybe you have time to do, maybe you spend a lot in this new world. So I think there is a very, very important thing to keep an eye on, which is transition periods. Transition periods are tough because you don't know what normal looks like anymore. And that's about to change quite a lot for you in March. When that happens, I think from my point of view, the top priority would probably be making sure that the reports are happy and can also ease into their transition periods well. and that any responsibilities you were doing at least aren't being handled much worse than they were before. So you're probably not going to be able to carry them out to the same level you were originally. And so that's going to have to be done by somebody. Now, of
Yeah.
your 25 to 30 reports, presumably some of that there is it a split of engineers, product, QA? How does that look?
No, I'm actually have a skill-based group of people I'm leading, which are basically all software engineers with focus on front-end development.
Okay, so all software engineers. So no one there could do product ownership necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm already training someone to do this. So I have I don't know the English term, a co-product owner, which basically is the same position as me, attends all the meetings I am at. So we are basically, yeah, preparing for this migration.
And how long has that been going on for?
Actually, about 1 year. The first thought about this was if someone goes into vacation or is ill, someone can take over. But yeah, that's planned out really good for me.
Yeah, it did. I was going to say that's a lot of forethought to think
Yeah.
ahead by about 15 months, but it's a happy coincidence essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll have this other person who you've been training. They're comfortable with this role because you're going to be their manager, and while they have been your sort of double for this, do you know what
I'm
they're
not their manager because they are not a software developer. So they are a product owner as well. We have a skill-based system. So I'm not their leader in this role.
Oh, I understand what you mean now by skill based. Okay. So
So
like
we have a group of a team basically of software developers with front end experience. That what I'm the manager of.
yeah,
And we have some group, some team, which is basically all product owners of the company, and they have a manager. But I'm not this person.
I see. Got you. So you'd be delegating to someone else at some point, but you wouldn't be managing them. Are you still going
Yes.
to be in close touch with them after March for, hey, here's the stuff I used to do, or are they pretty much free to take the reins from you?
Um, the company expects to start with a 50-50 split. So 50% of the time I would do the product management. So I would be able to help them with anything that comes up.
Okay, yeah. So Peter could help the new person. Um, okay, because what I'm thinking in my head, and again, this is my own thoughts here, and this doesn't even necessarily have to do with mentoring, is that I suspect it's probably going to be more like 70-30 or 80-20 at
Mhm.
first, and then hopefully you find that balance that the company wants, but maybe that doesn't happen, maybe it does. Are there any I asked if 25 to 30 reports is kind of typical at your company, and you said it mostly is. Are those
Yeah.
people who are managers of 25 to 30 reports, are they doing what I would call individual contributor work, which is working on product, working on development?
Most of them there, yes.
Okay.
And there are some exceptions, but most of them are contributing to products or being product managers or customer relations manager, something this
Okay, I see. So
on
it's
this
not
side.
a balance that's heretofore unheard of and that no
No.
one has accomplished at the company. Okay. So with that said, I do think it'll be a very new world for you and that it'll be a little tough to get your footing at first. So we
Yes.
talked about what leadership means to you. You've also talked a little bit about what bad leadership means to you, which are things to avoid. So you wouldn't
Yeah.
want someone not giving you opportunities for growth. And then the other thing I think we tend to do when we consider leadership is we consider maybe a certain group of direct reports that you might have which may not represent reality. So, for example, you have a company of 250 people. It's unlikely that all 250 people are amazing developers and product owners. There are probably some who need some help or who are going through a rough patch in their life and as a manager for them, you'll need to be understanding of their situations and help them out.
Yeah.
And like I said, that takes time to learn. So, uh, you want to get most of the experience through the job. You have already been ramping up this other product owner over the last year. That is some amount of leadership experience. When you think of other leadership opportunities that could exist that don't involve you becoming a manager, what might those look like?
So at our company, the product owner is basically the team lead for the developers working on the product.
Mhm.
So I have some leadership, informal leadership experience, basically by becoming the product owner and delegating user stories and epics to the team. In addition to this, I have one mentor, which is an experienced leader by about 7 or 8 years, which told me that even after March, so after the formal process is met, they want to still mentor me in becoming a better leader. So I have a peer to ask basically the newcomer questions in leadership too.
That is a fantastic resource, and I think it's really good that you have that person set up, but also that you've carried that on for the future.
Yeah.
So, do you ever have any struggles convincing developers to take on tasks now in your current role? Are there any points of friction there?
No, I'm working in a team where everyone has a team spirit. So we have basically a really good mindset about it. Everyone wants to achieve the product goals, which we basically laid out together. So I have no issues delegating tasks. What I have issues with is getting resources. So we have some team members which are not full-time in my team. And basically finding the right person to ask if I can have another team member to join my team for about let's say 20 hours for a sprint or something. This is the issue I have because no one is feeling responsible to do this.
I see. Mm. Is that part of the leadership that you want to work on? Is this a unique quirk of your company?
It's basically an issue of one team member being in 20 teams, not at this high number, but too many teams. And yeah, that's something we have as I have to fix as leader with other leaders. So there are several other leaders that will be joining me on my so as peers to me, and basically I'm looking forward to then to discuss how we can fix this issue. Yeah.
Okay, let's play this little situation out. It's April, it's May. It's a time where you've been in this new role for a month or two, and so have all of your peers, presumably. I'm guessing they're doing this at roughly the same time. Yeah. So it's April or May, and you have enough of a bearing where you can say, let's start to work on this issue. How do we instill new processes in this company? How would you go about doing that?
So basically, it works by start doing. My company is a huge fan of discussing it, discussing, and no one takes action. So I have started a meeting culture where every meeting has to lead to some results. Everyone has to be in the meeting until we have found something we can work on next. And this is the way I would go about it. Stick all my peer managers into one room, and basically we have to start the meeting with, we have to fix this issue. What are the next steps we can do? And no one leaves the room until we have some plan to go about it.
So given that you're in this meeting, that means that there hasn't ever been a meeting that hasn't ended due to not having the next steps. But that must have
Yeah,
caused some challenge for some people who are not used to that, who are used to the endless process ways. How did they eventually get on board with that?
So that's we have an age gap between our leaders and the new managers. So in May, we have two pretty separate age groups that we will be attending those meetings. And funnily enough, all the ones with the mindset of we can do something about this are the ones that would be attending the meeting. So they're those with the mindset of let's discuss it until it's dead. Those are my managers, but they have so this does provide some other difficulties. But for this exact issue we have mentioned, or I have mentioned, we would be able to fix this.
Okay, I see. Also, sorry, I have just messed things up as someone just alerted me. I tried moving your camera because I realized I'm looking in the wrong direction for this. Okay, there we go. Um, so you said the older managers, or sorry, that not the older ones, the ones who's been in the company for longer necessarily. Are they're the older people as well, you're saying?
They have the older mindset. Let's call it
I
that.
see.
They have the mindset of discussing, discussing, discussing.
Yeah. So the new guard, so to speak, has this, they're on board with what you're doing.
Yeah,
Okay. And okay, so it's not, I'm seeing a lot of good things, by the way. I think it's good that you are approaching mentors, whether it was me or whether it was someone at your job. That already implies that you want to grow, that you want to work on things. And I think signaling that intention is the first step to actually doing something. And they can help you keep you accountable as well. I think that's good. I think it's good that you are not concerned about this process that's coming up between now and March. I think it's good that you have a good relationship with who will be your direct manager in March. I think I think we need to figure out what would the path look like from here to there. And so I asked, do you have any leadership opportunities? You said you essentially have a way of delegating to developers, and you have actually had some, I'd say like vague people management in the form of getting that other product manager on board over the last year. But you probably haven't dealt with anyone's career, so to speak, of
right,
how to help guide you. Okay.
correct.
Yeah. So I guess what are the realms you would want to work on to get you closer to what you consider servant leadership?
I have no experience in designing skill paths, which would be my area I have to work on, especially because skill development is something I really focus on and I want to focus on. Um, and basically, the program, the formal education or the formal process I have to go through is basically becoming this, or have the mindset of um, leading people. So I will be taught how to deal with difficult employee decisions, with difficult employees, basically, how to move employee basically in the direction of the company. So I have some experience, basic training, I would call it. So if I become the leader in March, so it's not nothing, but it's very much only taught and read information and not experience.
Yeah. But you're saying that is a formal training program that they have. There are some
Yeah.
resources that exist within this company. And
Yes.
you're also sort of implying that these would be insufficient on their own.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
So I those leadership skills I admire are not taught through books or tutoring classes. They are taught by experience, and this is why I went out and searched a mentor
Yeah.
actively. Yeah.
Yeah. So in these cases, I think it takes a couple of things, and I wrote this just here, but steal from people. So this sounds kind of silly, but look at someone who has a trait that you like and try to figure out yourself, how did they get that? You can eventually talk to them and just ask them. But I think that's the start. And this goes back to what I said about signaling intention. You have signaled your intention that you want to become a leader and that you eventually want to become a CTO. And I don't know how far you went within your company of signaling the CTO intention explicitly, but either way,
I
you said
did.
it. You have. Okay, yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Has said he wants to be CTO explicitly. Yeah. So you've identified these things. Now there are the less tangible qualities of leadership that you see in people. And so when I think of the less tangible qualities, I think about things like empowerment, autonomy, um, leading by example, and the list could probably go on. I think delegating well. And these are all topics that I think we can delve into a little bit more. There was something else I wanted to say. Yeah, I guess the delegating well part is going to be key to the skill development bit. So there is somewhere a spectrum of getting things done and growing somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
these are not always the same thing. So sometimes you can give a junior task to a junior engineer. It's going to be great. It's a perfect fit. You're not only getting the thing done, but you're growing somebody. And sometimes you need that thing done now because the product demands it. And then you might want to give a junior task to a senior engineer because you know you'll get it done well. That might make the
Yeah.
senior engineer feel bored, feel like, why am I doing tasks like this? But it's okay to do every once in a while. You probably need to explain with some clarity there that, hey, here's why I'm doing this. I'm sorry, I know this isn't the task for you. Next ones will be way better than this. So there's a large load balancing of tasks that I think you have to get used to, and that is a skill, and that just kind of colloquially here, what I've heard is that everyone, this is phrased a little grimly, but everyone kind of sucks at being a manager their first year because of how much you learn. And because without making mistakes, you can't necessarily guide yourself back onto the right path. You might do something that doesn't have obvious repercussions until months later, where let's say you were giving these junior tasks to senior people. They'd be fine with it for a day, a week, maybe a month.
Oh.
Maybe after 2 months, 3 months, they start feeling like, why am I doing this stuff? I had this happen on one of my teams when I was at Google, actually, where we had a relatively senior team, and we had really no junior people. So those junior tasks had to go somewhere, and eventually the senior people started getting a little frustrated with that. So I think the delegating well part is something we'll need to dive into more. And I think once we start having some examples from your experience post-March, that it
Mhm.
will help us tackle something concrete there. I think these other things about empowerment and autonomy, how, this is a very like open-ended question. How good do you think you are at relinquishing control, at letting other people take the lead on things?
I'm getting better. So,
Okay.
so my first year as a or my first first few months of being a product owner, it was really hard getting stuff done, letting other take the decision making control. So technology decisions basically, and it would have been faster if I would done it myself, but then I wouldn't have a team that could support me nowadays. So I see and I learned a lot of this about being being a product manager, product owner. But I know I have to get better at this. So there are some things that still frustrates me when things aren't getting done.
Yep. And I think that is one of the big challenges of being a leader. I think that if the company grows more, that you'd eventually have opportunities to, of those 25 or 30 people, to make some of them leaders of their
Mhm.
own hierarchies. And so at some point, I mean, this is the goal of being a CTO, is you have that hierarchy very clearly established, but there's got to be some step between here and there. And unfortunately, your company is shallow enough at the point where you have a leaf node employee with two managers in the middle and then the CEO. And so there isn't this very large tree structure of, okay, well, I can be a manager in the middle of this and have, great grandchildren, direct reports, so to speak. So I think this is something where, it's the relinquishing control. You cannot empower someone by looking over their shoulder all the time and saying, hey, here's how I would do things. And yet you need to, with a gentle hand, still steer them in the right direction by saying something like, here's how things could go better for next time. And again, sometimes you need to be careful with phrasing. It's not, you did something poorly in the past, it's, it can be improved in the future. And even little things like that can really can take a role in this. So autonomy, and I think trust is the other part here, and this plays into everything else that we have. So autonomy, people want to be able to figure some things out for themselves and to make some mistakes. And I don't know what your gauge is for a good work day. You said you work with good coworkers, they have team spirit. Possibly some of them will not be up to the quality you might expect, and yet it's totally fine for the company. So that's another gauge you'll have to snap to for what is expected of a given employee here. So this is something I sometimes find surprising in companies. It's that expression, you overestimate what you can get done in a day and underestimate what you can get done in a year. I think if you ever end up looking at individual direct reports days, you might be disappointed, but that's not the
Yeah.
level that you should have looking at this stuff. So back on the steal from everyone, you really like your manager. They're the person who
Yes.
hired you. You've been working
Yeah.
with them for a year. they will be your manager again officially in 3 months. What are things that they do well that you want to emulate?
They have an incredibly strong empathetic bind to their employees, which I admire. They have some formal education basically in this topic, but yeah, it's a really strong bind which they can build with employees that aren't feeling well, basically. That's the one topic that jumps into mind basically instantly. They have really great business qualities. They basically build the product as I know it today for the last 20 years, which is uncommon for such a big software development, software product, and they have good business skills basically.
Yeah. Yeah, these are things where I'm going to continue to dig into this, but these are things I want you to keep on your radar as you grow in the next 6 months, is who are other people like this. But so this manager specifically, if I were to just ask you, how do they do this? What would be your answer? Again, very open question.
So I find it kind of hard to answer. The empathetic bind they build is basically with one-on-ones with the employees. They have an open ear for everything that might sound like someone has a really hard time currently, and basically seeks out the opportunities to talk to this person without invading their privacy. So if you talk to them, you have the feeling you can tell them everything without them pushing you to.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I think now I'm going to, again, with an open question here. So how would you do this?
I'm getting better. I have someone in my team. I won't go into the details of this, but they haven't been feeling well. I've seen it in their output that were lower than normal, and basically talk to them and have formulated some open questions, basically to get them talking and build trust, so that they know if they want to talk about it, they can, and that played out in the long run. And they pretty openly stated what was happening, and we could go into how to go about this topic.
Yeah, and I'll say progress could be made. This plays into a very, very important term that I never really thought of until, probably I started at Google, psychological safety. So I think there should always be this culture of you can say things and not be worried about backlash. And I mean, this, only goes to some level, right? If the company's breaking the law or something like that, and you talk about it, probably there needs to be something that's done. But in general, it's something like, I'm feeling uncomfortable with this. I am overwhelmed by my workload. These are the kinds of things that people should be able to share. And so if you pay attention, there's an expression which is, if you know who's really in charge when you find out who you can't criticize. So if you were to start making fun of your leader and he's like, oh yeah, that's funny, whatever, then okay, it's someone higher up the chain. I find this happens if you look around and you see what is it that people don't say around certain quote unquote leaders that they will say around other people. And that's where the psychological safety seems to end. So that's when we start worrying about, how is this person taking things? How am I going? And so as much as possible, I think giving someone a platform like what you've done with this person you just discussed, you allowed them to share what they have to share. You presumably were going about it in an open enough way where they didn't fear retaliation. And you ended up with a good conclusion in the end. Like this is something where you now have played out this process with this person, and yet you started by saying you're getting better, which implies that there are still some opportunities for improvement.
Obviously.
Yeah. And so
I think of it as there are always opportunities to get better, and especially because in leadership and dealing with people. So I wouldn't say anyone is perfect in leadership style.
That definitely. And I don't mean to focus on the imperfect part. All I mean is that these other opportunities, I think, are things to focus on in the same sense of what does this person need? How do they feel? That's truly what empathy is experiencing a situation from someone else's shoes without needing to be in them yourself. So, for example, you lose a family member, you then experience that pain yourself, but now you have a team member lose a family member. You don't know how close they were to that person. You still need to give them space and understand. So, I kind of write this here of steal is not equal to style. So I say steal from people in terms of kind of broad categories. At the end of the day, what your manager does to build empathy are things that you can essentially add as tools to your tool belt, but that you don't need to do in the exact same way. And we could dig into this for any other leaders that you see. And I look at this on an even more granular level of steal from everybody, of there might be a way of speaking that someone has where you think that they can explain things very clearly, or they have a way of winding in jokes into something that would otherwise be serious and kind of lessen the tension in a room. Even those are things I think you should look at and see, like, what does make the people around me a good leader? So what I try to do in mentoring sessions a lot of times is give some concrete things you can go work on. These are still somewhat abstract because we're talking about leadership as a whole. And I'd like to be able to give you more input, and I don't think it's going to be impossible in future sessions, but I don't feel I've done it enough here. But I would say kind of look around you at leaders you respect and leaders you don't respect to figure out what you want to do or not do. And so empathy is strong with you. You said that also the servant leadership style, which is essentially looking at things from the mindset of your direct reports, kind of fits into that. Are there any other qualities you look at where you think, I have this as a skill gap right now that I want to work on this?
So I guess the business side of things is my biggest gap currently. I think I have good social skills. Obviously, I can improve in every aspect of this, but if I have to divide leadership into basic qualities and skills you have to bring, business would be the one I would rank myself as the on the lowest floor.
I see. Yeah, and by the way, this might be something that's harder for me to help with given of how bad I've done with my own businesses. But I think there's still some learnings I can instill there, even if I haven't exactly led by example there. When you look at these people who are good at business, for example, your soon to be manager again, who you call your manager has led this product for 20 years. They have enough business sense about them that they were able to do that. And 20 years is long enough where you can't just say, well, it's a fluke and 2 years from now it's gonna. So do you know, you said they had some formal education. How do they stay up to date? Usually I find that people end up reading, listening to podcasts, talking to other leaders.
I really don't know. So I know that they attend some courses, both offered by Telecom and not. But I don't know how they stay up to date with business with the business side of things.
Yeah, I think you should ask them. And I think it's totally fine. You have a good relationship. I think you can ask them,
Yep.
how do you do this? Because in their mind, it might be something that's automatic. It's like, I am up to date on, I don't know, some gaming news, for example. And it's not like I try to do that. It's just I have incorporated it into a habit that I will go to a certain news site or something like that. Not a great example, but the same
Yep.
sort of thing can happen with business, where I've talked to some people who say, look, I listen to a lot of tech podcasts. That's the kind of thing where you might not have even thought, oh yeah, that is a route for getting this information. Maybe there are local meetups you go to. Maybe there is just a state of the industry kind of thing, like what JetBrains or Stack Overflow does, where they find out what languages are people using, what should we invest in. And as an eventual CTO, you've got to think very long term with some of these things. It might be that you're using tech stack A now, and switching to tech stack B will take 3 to 5 years, but it will benefit you in the future. You need to do that cost benefit analysis and follow through on it and make sure that it's kind of pushed through the company in the right way and culturally fits with everybody, and that you don't ruffle feathers while you do it. So I think since we're getting a little close to the end, I want to look at the other things that we had talked about briefly here. There was side hustle, which I know we didn't really get to, and then gym stuff. I wonder, I think we'll need to tackle these kind of separately. So Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So basically, I listed all the things I'm personally working on currently, and wanted to get your take on this. So it's totally fine if we do some of this stuff in future sessions. And the gym one, basically, that's an issue with my habits. And if you have some tips, I would really like to hear your opinion. But that's not the one I want to focus on. So
Gotcha.
my side hustle and leadership are the both of the topics I want to talk about.
Yeah, I'll just put this in here for now. I just read Atomic Habits. I think it is a book that really articulates a lot of what I've been trying to do with my own habits. I think it's
Mhm.
incredibly good. It's only 6 hours as an audiobook. I listen to things at 2x speed, so it's really 3 hours if you want to do it that way. But that, even though it's your least important thing, is the easiest to give you advice on because someone else already codified it into a book.
Yeah.
So if you happen to listen to books, that's great. If not, I'll just talk about what I took from it because I can always share my notes with you through these
Mhm.
sessions and also my interpretation of them. And that's what we'll eventually do, maybe like a session 4 or something kind of thing. Yeah. So do you think that this will kind of work for you, the mentoring setup we have here? Do you think you'll, okay. Because
Yes. So I felt I was really nervous coming in, but yeah, you have a really calming set, and you talk really calm, which was helping a lot. Yeah.
okay, good. I'm glad. I ask this question not for validation of myself, but validation of the process because I've
Yeah.
said this to basically all of my mentees that I look at it as how do I give value to you, and if that's what's happening, then great. So
Yeah.
I think we'll end up scheduling a second session after this
Mhm.
at some point, probably about a month out, and I'll try to think about other things I want to do. I'll show you really fast here in the beardage thing. I already have a bunch of bullet
Yeah.
points I
So
added
wait,
based.
should I
Oh,
just
no,
open
no,
the
never
stream?
mind. You wouldn't be able to see this because I'm not
Okay.
sharing it with you and you're not looking at the stream. Doesn't matter. I've added a bunch of bullet points that I thought of even just since Monday. So I'll do the
Mhm.
same for you where I go through, I'll process this, I'll read what chat said and everything. But yeah, thank you very much for the guts of being on this show and for trying this out.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to it, and I'm now looking forward to the second session.
Okay, excellent. Well, nice to meet you, Peter. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest
Thanks,
of your night
Adam.
and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye. All right, chat. So let me write this in, and I think that was an hour. Yeah, I said at 10:57, and now it's 11:58. Although I was kind of doing non-mentoring stuff toward the end. Yeah. So what did everybody think? Are you still on board, or are you like something should be totally different here? I will try to look at the VOD afterward and see what everybody had to say. Been some Discord video glitching. Yes, I saw that. And I think that could be on 3D Extended side because I don't think that happened during the beardage call. And usually it has to do with a loose connection somewhere, but it could also just be drivers.